Welcome back, guys. In the previous video we've done one silly mistake. If you can see in the console, we were getting this error but we didn't notice it. That error was we didn't export our router, so we need to export this router so that error goes off. So module.exports, and we are going to export this router. And once I save this, now you can see there won't be having any errors. The server connected successfully and MongoDB also connected successfully. So in this video we are going to connect our front end to the back end. Now we are going to have this register page, right? So we are going to register.js, and here now we are going to handle this register submit, that whenever user clicks on submit, what should happen, we are going to write the logic now. So first, they should be asynchronous because we are going to have a set of operations in this function, like we are going to form validate, we are going to send into database and other stuff, right? So that's why it is important to have this asynchronous function. And I've told in the previous section that with this user variable, with this email variable, and the password, C password variables, we are going to access the data in that field, right? So how we are going to do that? So it's simple. If you're using this data word here, so with just data dot user or data dot email, data dot password, we can access the data in the field whichever entered by the user. The first thing we need to do is whenever a user submits, we need to check the password and confirm password. They both should be same, right? So we need to have that if condition, data dot password should be triple equal to data dot c password. So we are using triple equal to because everything should be same, including the data type. Everything should be, it's a strict a comparison if you're using triple equal to. And we are going to have a else condition also, right? Like if the user doesn't have the same password and confirmation, we are going to handle that as well. So for now we are going to alert or console log the error saying that passwords doesn't match. Yeah, now we are going to handle this. If the password and confirm password are same, we are going to store that data whichever the user has entered. So we are going to store that in our object user data equal to, here we are going to store our object in the same names as of our database, that is user, email and password. So for that, first thing will be user. It should be the value of data dot user. So data dot user is nothing but whenever user types in the user field, that data will be stored in this user variable. And the second one would be email, and this should be data dot email. The last one, we are going to store our password also, right? So password data dot password. So before storing it on database, let's just see whether we are getting this data from the form or not. So for that, we'll just console log for now. So once we are sure that we are getting the data, then we are going to insert our data into database. So once the compilation is done, I'll show you our website how registration goes on. So if you are not sure, this is our ongoing application and this is our completed application. So we are in login, right? We'll go into registration page, and you can see, okay, the compilation is okay. These are the warnings because we have added these slashes in our pattern, so that's we can ignore it. So now we are going to test this register submit. Here we'll have my name and my email address and password. I'll give some kind of strong password. So yeah, now when I click on submit, okay, it throws me this error. We need to have more than 6 letters, right? Yeah, and I'll have our console log open to see whether our data is being fetched or not. So if I click on submit, yeah, we got this JSON object where it says user is Abhishek, yeah, which I've tabbed. Email is my email, and the password which I've entered. So don't worry, we are going to hash this password in our next section. So till now we are going to have this password as a visible. So as we are getting this password, now we are going to save that in our database. To be able to access or to be able to access any other http route, we are going to use a http request, right? So we have in javascript a fetch method, but we are going to use a package called axios. I think you're already familiar with axios package. So axios package is nothing but it will let you have a request response http kind of request using that axios. So we're going to install that npm I Axios. Once the installation is done, we are going to use Axios to do HTTP request in our front end. So generally what we'll do is we are going to have this Axios and we'll request to our backend. We have few routes like auth register routes. With that routes we are going to have our request. So let's start our server as well, npm start. So while this happens, I'm going to import axios into this file. So import axios equal to, sorry, from axios. Yeah, now once object has been created or stored, we are going to make our request. That is, we are going to make a request. That means we are spending some time, right? So unless or until this operation is done, you should not go to the next line. The control should not go into the next line. So that's why we are going to write this await. The await axios is our method, and here also we are having this post request, right? We are submitting our values to the database. We are not getting it, we are submitting. So that's why we are going to use this post request, and the first parameter will be our route. So if you check in our backend, the first should be of auth, and after that whatever the routes we are having, auth slash register. So that is what here we'll be having, auth slash register. Now you may wonder why we have written this proxy here. If you don't write proxy here, every request you make to a database, here you need to write that http localhost 5000, all that stuff, which makes it as a repetitive task. So that's why we are going to have this proxy mentioned in our package.json. Now we are going to access this register, and the second would be our object. This is what we are sending to the backend, right? So second would be the object. Now we are going to handle this like then and catch, like promises. If this post request is successful, what should it do? If this post request is failure, what it should do? So we are having this then catch. So yeah, I'm going to have this function here, then if log dot data. So log dot data means if we go into the controller, when we data is nothing but this success message, this whatever that is in send json, that is called data. So we are going to check whether it is success or not. That means whether it's a true or false. So data dot success. Now we are going to handle if the request is successful or not. So what we are going to have is, it should say if the success user registered successfully, or else we need to have another alert saying that user has not registered. So we'll have another alert, something went wrong. You can have your own messages. So something went wrong, and this ends our then block. Now we are going to have our catch block. So dot catch, and here we are going to have a error. This will be another arrow function. Here we are going to alert our error. Whatever there is any kind of request error or any kind of client error, then the user will know what is the exact error here. So we'll just save this, and we'll see if there's any errors in our front end. No, we are not having any kind of errors in both front end and back end. Now let's go to our application. We are in login, so we'll go into register. Similarly, we'll open our console tab to check whether the data insertion is happening or not. So once we get any kind of response here and any kind of alerts, we'll go into database and check. We'll have a name here, email address, and a password which I've tabbed in our earlier video. So QWERTY1234, QWERTY1234. Here I'll just type 3. Let's see whether the password and confirm password are different, whether it throws an error or not. So it says password doesn't match, so it's working fine. Now what I'll do is I'll have 4 also. Now when I click on submit, the user object is we are getting, and it says user registered successfully. So that means our data has been entered into the database. So for that we'll check in our database. So MongoDB. So this is a Mongo Atlas. I've already spoken about this MongoDB Atlas in our previous sections. So we are going to have all data in our online. Instead of going into that website, we have this application called Mongo Compass. So in this Mongo Compass, we can check our databases whichever we create. So this is a Udemy auth application, and let's connect. So depending upon your internet connection, this application works fast. So this is the database, and here we'll be having user, right? So if we click on user, you can see our data has been stored here, which is user, email id, password, and is verified. It's a false because we have defaultly created it to be false, right? With the id also. Don't worry, the password, it is visible in the next sections. We are going to hash that password also. So in this video we have completed the registration part. In the next video we are going to see how the login part works.